flashy magazines and pretty trashy people. I just hoped I could keep them out of the crime section. That was the boss lady. Being famous as well as rich is the bad guys know who to kidnap. I hadn't seen it coming, but that was no surprise. It's hard to keep your eye on the ball through the bottom of a glass. I just hoped I could get to Fabiana and Giovanna in time. If I was going to lose the boss's wife and sister-in-law, I might as well do it medicated. Poor bastard's name was Claudio. I found out later he was a pretty big-shot soccer player for the Galatians, some nearly superstar just back from Europe. The usual. Scored goals, scored girls. The only box he'd be getting into now was the one he'd be leaving in. It was your typical trendy hellhole. A playground for the overpreened and undernourished. Sushi and house music and vodka. A place you don't get through the door unless you're rich, beautiful, or, in this instance, it seemed, a heavily armed psychopath. There was another delay I didn't need. This wasn't looking good. I'd almost lost the boss's wife once this week. Now I was giving them two for the price of one. Remember the last time I'd done drugs in a nightclub.
Don't shoot, por favor.
You an American?
Sure. Yeah, I'm from Steele, North Dakota, just outside of Bismarck. Anders Stetling. This is some place, huh? They told me it was a little fresh, but I wasn't expecting things to be quite like this.
No?
No, see, I've seen things. I was a cop for 25 years. I've seen men run over by combines. I've seen husbands who just ate their wives, but a gunfight at a disco.
You were a cop?
Yeah, just retired. Oh, what a life that was. And it gave me the money to raise a family. I got a girl at college at Wisconsin and a boy who's playing football for Minnesota State. You want to see their picture?
No, that's all right. Sounds nice. Listen, you're staying here. Don't be a hero.
Oh, I won't. I'm retired.
Happy, healthy ex-cop? Give me a break. It looked loud and expensive enough to be Fabiana's. Her fashion sense didn't leave a whole lot of room for imagination, let alone food. The girl sure knew how to draw the eye, and maybe that was the problem. But at least I was heading in the right direction.
Diego!
Victor's political campaign was starting to come unstuck. Seemed the Broncos' luck was on the turn. If only that was the worst news they'd received that day. Second, and if Fabiana wasn't dead already, I was guessing pretty soon she'd start wishing she was. I was up for one god-awful performance review. It was Giovanna's necklace. Now I just had to find the rest of her. This was a mess. Where the hell was Passos? We were two failed cops failing miserably at being bodyguards. Mr. Victor Bronco. For all his friends in high places, he had just as many enemies.
You go first.
Our $3 million man had locked the doors behind him.
Let's see if this thing works. Straight on here, I'll cover you.
It suddenly hit me that this bloodbath was probably being recorded in HD. The Galatians would be making more than the sports pages tomorrow morning.
Come on, let's need to see this! Get this out!
For me. Luckily for us, the blood money was still bleeding. The smell in this place reminded me of how long it had been since I'd had any food. A drinker eats when he's low. They'd barred the front door. Of course, we were trapped in here. The only way out was through the back, exactly where they wanted us. Most of them fuzzy, but memories nonetheless. This looked like goodbye.
I ain't waiting to see who else shows up. Come on!
I thought about saying the cops, but this was no time for bad jokes. When scotch won't do the job. This old guy, my days of playing dress-up were over. I wasn't some gallant knight. I didn't need a shield. For a chance to make a difference. At least that's what helps me sleep at night. It made for interesting reading. If I'd been given a few more years looking into the bottom of a glass, I might have been on the same page. Looked like he was keeping an eye on me. Must have thought we were kindred spirits. More and more, I think he was right. Thing the Tenants Committee could thank me for. Up and out. Scramble away from what's left of your life over dead bodies and a few loose roof tiles. If I'd thought things through, I may have sat down and let myself burn right there. All around, and not the kind you fix up for a weekend project. These were the wrecks you crossed the road to avoid.
We gotta wade down to the street.
This don't show the blood so much.
Scotch and pills. What could possibly go wrong? Looked like Passos had brought us to the right place. That was the chopper the Commando Sombra used to escape the nightclub attack. If Fabiana wasn't around here, then at least someone that knew where she was had to be. I want to think about what would be happening on that video feed now. Just my own imminent cameo. They probably made their ransom notes from the same glossy magazines they used to select their victims. This was a second request for payment. The best of intentions at the stadium weren't enough to cover it. They'd been making a reality show starring Sao Paulo's favorite housewife. Probably thought it would grease the wheels with the ransom money, but it only made me want to shove the cash down their throats. She was on the move. If they'd finally decided to kill her, I wasn't doing anything to persuade them otherwise. I was in a cocaine factory, but I'd stick to the depressants. It seemed Serrano's boys had targeted the entire Bronco family and didn't give a shit which one they pinched. Serrano was reading his reviews. Vain chump. The newspaper was plastered with the news of the first kidnapping attempt. These were the floor plans to the nightclub. Seemed Mr. Serrano liked to be prepared. Proper little Boy Scout. I had to keep on going across the docks. That left us. It wasn't a fantastically comforting thought. That was the office Victor used at Fabricas Bronco. Victor's office had second son written all over it, half the size of Rodrigo's and a tenth as fancy. Marcelo's must have been a box in the basement. I didn't have time to thumb through the old phrase book Portuguese, but it looked like Victor was asking for campaign contributions. Rodrigo held the family purse strings, and by the looks of it, he held them pretty tight. They'd been keeping an eye on Fabiana from afar. Shame they'd been more interested in supposed infidelities than thugs sizing her up for a snatch. It was a lot shinier than a favela, and rent'd be easier to collect. Maybe Bronco would take pity on all the poor bastards who got evicted. I just had to keep him alive to find out.
This is the way.
The lobby to complete my sweep of the building, for what that was worth. Graduation shots of Rodrigo, Victor, and Marcelo, educated at rich kid finishing schools all over Europe. No wonder they had the common touch. It looked like we'd seen the worst of it. The elevator would take me back up to Rodrigo's office where we could wait the rest of it out. No one would be rebooting his system. Poor bastard. Don't die here. Move.
Ih, não é tua vez não, passa aí, meu.
Aí, tem visto a irmã do Wilson, mano?
O que esse cara quer?
Aí, bela camisa, hein? Tu perdeu o cuzão, amigo.
Hey, are you lost?
In more ways than I could possibly explain.
I know you. At the disco, with the gun. Yeah, you had hair back then and better clothes. Anders Dedling from Steele, North Dakota. Why on earth are you here?
Well, I'm, looking for someone. What are you doing here?
Oh, we came to help the cause. See, after I retired, my wife, she said I had to do something. And, well, you know, I always loved kids, so I got involved in Angels of the Hill. Oh, it's a great cause, and they're really great folk. And, well, now we come down twice a year to help inoculate the children of the favelas. Yeah, oh, simply wonderful, giving back. Whole family does it. In fact, my little girl's coming in a couple of days.
Aren't you afraid?
I was a cop for 25 years. And granted, Steele ain't San Paulo, but, you know, I seen things. And people are the same everywhere, good, bad, and different.
Listen, have you heard anything about a woman, about 28, rich? She was kidnapped. I heard she was being held around here.
No?
All right, well, good luck.
All right, you too. You look like you need it. I gotta get back at it. All right, I'll say a prayer for you.
Another life lesson I didn't want. Serrano, the man of the hour.
No shooting! Por favor, amigo! No.
Relax, soldier.
You're American? Oh, jeez, buddy. Am I glad to see you? Oh, fuck me. I've been coming to this shithole town for the last 5 years. It's like a fucking insane asylum. But it's got the cheapest pussy in the world. Fuck me. I mean,
You're in a cat house in the slum, pal, doing who knows what.
I'm a businessman, bro. And they were fully legal in this country, I think. And I know how to tip, all right? It ain't my fault, man. It ain't my fault. Don't judge me, all right?
Have a nice day.
Jesus, what a fucking creep. The cold turkey was messing with me, like I was looking through another man's eyes. I needed to focus. Yet more thugs whose Christmas card list I wouldn't be on. This wasn't Commando Sombra real estate. I had to keep moving. Say what you want about these hoods. They knew more about branding than a Madison Avenue art director. Tropa Z. Looked like Nova Esperanza had a civil war to add to its long list of reasons not to visit.
Não tem como escapar da justiça. São Paulo inteiro está unida contra você.
Soccer had gotten Claudio away from the favela. but it hadn't gotten him far enough. I couldn't imagine his death had done much to boost the CS's approval ratings in that part of town. Giovanna, charity worker and socialite. Work with the poor and play with the rich. You try to live in two worlds. Eventually, you're gonna get your life ripped apart. I'd have felt worse taking someone's medication if everybody in that place hadn't been trying to kill me. Passos had told me about this stuff. Oxidado. They called it rust, packed full of healthy ingredients like quicklime and kerosene, cheaper, stronger, and deadlier than crack. Easily marketed to the poor and desperate. All in all, a fine, honorable way to earn a living. I was definitely in Commando Sombra territory. If Fabiana was still alive, she couldn't be far away. Detective Valerie Winterson. One of my bullets is buried down there with her. I tell myself it was a tragic misunderstanding, an awful mistake. I tell myself a lot of things. All of it crap. The truth was, it was her or Mona. I made a very bad call. This was one decision of mine I buried deeper than all the others. Passos had put some distance between himself and the goons. I meant to follow. The they had us split up, the more chance they had of picking us off. Nicole Horn's mausoleum. The woman who ordered Michelle's death. I passed it whenever I came to see my wife. It felt appropriate to leave her some dead bodies instead of flowers. Vinny Gognetti. I didn't think there was enough of him left to fill a grave. Poor son of a bitch. His antics had brought the once great house of Punchinello to its knees, and they were still struggling to stand up. Didn't seem too concerned with meeting their arrest quotas. Between me and Sao Paulo's finest, it'd be a miracle if the CS were still in business by the end of the day. I'd seen that number before. Were these the same bloodthirsty motherfuckers that showed up after the shootout at the party? There was a danger of this starting to get too real.
me tirando, porra!
Uma coisa, seu filho da
Onde tá o seu
puta!
chefe, seu filho da puta? Cadê o Serrano?
Mano, eu não sei.
Man, I was guessing these guys didn't spend their spare time studying the Geneva Convention. When it's you and a pregnant woman against an army of mercenaries, you take what you can get. An army of paramilitaries and only my face made the front page. More publicity I didn't need. She was Victor's political nemesis and, in all probability, Sao Paulo's next mayor. Even the Broncos couldn't afford that many votes. The dead guys looked like soldiers in one of those Central American guerrilla armies. Pirates with a manifesto. Psychos with a dream. That sort of bullshit. Passos had the name of the bar where I was drinking my life away. I should have put things together then, instead of waiting for De Silva to walk me through it real slow. The room belonged to Passos, my partner in crime. Or maybe someone else's. The bed was made. I could only guess that Passos was upstairs in the thick of it. Whatever it was. So this was the famous Panama Canal. We could have gone to the moon while I was passed out and I wouldn't have noticed. While I'd been dead to the world, some of my shipmates were just plain dead. Where had they taken them? It was a different scene than the one I'd stumbled away from. Where was everyone? I still didn't know what the hell happened. After I got out of New Jersey, things had flared up again between the Punchinellos and the DeMarcos. Didn't look like things would die down anytime soon. I was gonna have to stay away from the only place I'd ever known. Whatever they were looking for appeared to be gone. Daphne Bernstein, a recent divorcee, making the most of her considerable settlement, and Marcella was making the most of her. I don't want to think about it. These guys, other than good old-fashioned socialist zeal, what were they looking for? It didn't make sense. Why would they leave the jewels and rip open the walls? It didn't occur to me just what the other cargo on board could be. Maybe there was something on the bridge. I'd checked every other inch of the boat. Expected to find, on a boat full of drunks and bullshit artists, I'd been the cabaret act. Shooting whatever came in front of me was easier than coming to terms with that reality. Americans had a long and checkered history of involvement in Panama. This was my sorry chapter, for what it's worth. Either those guys wheeled their trash out on stretchers, or something was seriously wrong here. When you find yourself in hell, dance with the devil. Ufé. Was there anything they didn't have a grubby hand in? A few days earlier, I'd have called it a coincidence, but I'd written off too many of those already. Silva and I had the same fan club. I knew enough and he knew too much. We'd both become targets. Passos' ID card. It was no great surprise he'd made their hit list, but to discover he was really Colombian? No wonder some locals seemed to laugh at his accent. What else had he lied to me about? And what everyone else sees, a bad caricature of a better man. It looked like Victor had won the sympathy vote. Found his universal connection to the people, triumph out of tragedy. Part of me couldn't help thinking that had been his plan all along. Even I could guess what demolição meant. That building was condemned in more ways than one. Either Victor, Bronco, and Nevis were doing a lot of charity work together, or this was payment for something else. Were the Crash of Prado in Victor's pocket? Had he tipped them off about the stadium exchange? Oh, it had been going real cheap. If I was gonna plant the rest of those explosives, I had to do it now.
Hey, yeah, you!
Look who it is, Mr. Strip Club Scumbag.
You,
Yeah, me.
Mr. High and Mighty. Oh, you ain't gonna help me?
You get what you deserve, pal.
Unbelievable!
Yeah, unbelievable.
They were legal!
Figured I'd bag those up for evidence. It was Monday's arrest log, as far as I could tell, and no sign of anybody from Nova Esperanza. All those poor bastards have been checked straight into the Imperial Palace Hotel. Forward, and nothing changes. Becker's blood money from the good doctor. Serrano had canceled one side of that transaction. The other was on me. It looked like the security cameras were still running. Gone over the plan in more detail, but it was too late for that now. AUP. Those were the guys who jumped the yacht in Panama. And what was this? Had the Brazilian cops tipped them off about the money? If I didn't hurry, Becker would be long gone. Sao Paulo's own David and Goliath. I'd pinned De Silva as a coward, but he'd risked more than anyone, and he'd never taken a bribe. The CS were all but out of business in Sao Paulo, and suddenly Becker and Victor looked like local heroes in the war on crime. They'd really gotten their money's worth outsourcing their problems onto me. My old pal Serrano. We'd both been unwitting clowns in this sorry circus. Part of me hoped he'd made it out of that hotel alive. I didn't recognize the guy. Maybe this was the new slum king De Silva had talked about. A throne never stays empty for long. Fame at last. It was no great surprise I'd made Ufe's most wanted list. I hadn't done much to improve the reputation of Americans abroad over the past few weeks, and there they were, my illustrious employers, 3 dead and still every chance I'd go 4 for 4. None of this was gonna look good on the resume. And I was in good company. Howell Passos, sent up north to find a washed-up gringo who would act tough and play dumb. Boy, did he ever deliver. It was a little late to be thinking about precautions, but something told me this shit show was barely through the warm-up act. These were Becker's guys. Him and Victor had a private airport to go with their private army and their private jet.
Well, chaos and guns. I might have known you'd turn up.
Sorry. You heading home?
Oh, I am here to pick up my daughter, but I imagine she's stuck on the plane. What are you up to?
I don't know. Trying to make a difference. Giving back.
Yeah, well, that's what you call it.
Take care.
Yeah.
Judgment with a smile. You can't beat it. Maybe they were in the next terminal. The tram was slowing down, and I'd only just gotten on board. I had to salvage what I could and see what was waiting for me. This was my stop.